You have arrived here because something within you is weary, not merely tired, but exhausted in a way that cannot be soothed by rest. You are not broken, but forgotten not by others, but by yourself. And the wound that festers within you, unspoken, buried under decades of adaptation and appearance, is the wound of the abandoned inner child. That forgotten self, who once gazed at the world with open eyes and a boundless need for love, and who learned far too soon that it was not safe to be seen. This message, if it is to be received, must not merely be heard with the mind, but with the soul that has carried the weight of absence. For absence is a heavy thing. The absence of validation, the absence of being held in one's rawness, the absence of the sacred mirror that says, you are real. You are that child who learned that being seen meant being judged, rejected, or punished. And so you vanished not outwardly, but inwardly, folding yourself into a corner of the unconscious, creating a mask that could survive in a world that did not want your truth. When I speak of the inner child, I do not speak of sentimentality. I speak of the original imprint of your psyche, the innocent witness, the primordial perceiver. This child is not weak. This child is not naive. This child is divine. And where that child has been exiled, your life will echo with loneliness, rage, confusion, and a thirst no external love can quench. You see, we are not abandoned by life. We are abandoned by our own psychic fragments. And the child in you did not die. The child in you watches from beneath every adult smile, every success, every failed relationship. That child waits for permission to re-emerge, but as long as you keep pretending that you were never wounded, that you are above pain, that you are fully self-made, the child will remain hidden. And your shadow will grow larger. The shadow, that is what is created when the inner child is denied. Every time you said, I'm fine, when you were breaking, the shadow deepened. Every time you laughed to avoid crying, the shadow swelled. Every time you chose silence instead of vulnerability, your own soul learned to retreat. This is not judgment, this is awakening. When we speak of healing the inner child, we must move beyond superficial affirmations and cute phrases. The child cannot be seduced with words. The child responds only to authenticity, to the courage to feel again what you vowed never to feel, to hold again the pain you once disowned, to speak aloud the need for tenderness you once buried. You must remember, what was suppressed did not disappear. It became symptom, it became anxiety, it became addiction, dissociation, depression. These are not pathologies. They are letters from the child, written in the only language the unconscious knows: symbol, image, sensation. Perhaps in your dreams, you see yourself younger, lost, crying. Perhaps you revisit the same house in different dreams, the one from your childhood, altered each time. These are not random. These are your psyche's longing to reconnect with that which you exiled. The abandoned child will not let you go, not because it wishes to haunt you, but because it is you. To ignore it is to amputate the very part of your soul that remembers how to love. Now let me ask you something. Why do you feel so unseen? Why do you enter rooms and shrink? Why do you feel, even among people, as if you're not really there? It is because you were never truly mirrored. You were trained to be what others needed, to absorb their pain, to anticipate their moods, to carry the emotional weight of those who could not carry themselves. You were seen as a role, not a soul. And in that role, your true self was forgotten. This is not your fault. It was survival, but what you used to survive, you now use to hide. The armor that protected you is now your prison. The spiritual task of individuation is not to become someone new. It is to retrieve the parts of you that were left behind. The process is not additive. It is archaeological. You must dig, you must descend, you must be willing to become uncomfortable with comfort and familiar with the terrifying beauty of the truth. Have you ever noticed how easily you rescue others but struggle to ask for help? That too is the orphan within you, the one who learned that needs are dangerous, that expressing hurt is weakness. So instead, you become the healer, you become the listener, you become the empath, and yet you remain unseen. This is the paradox of the wounded one. You know how to care, but not how to be cared for. You know how to understand others, but not how to let yourself be known. And beneath it all, the child waits silently, screaming through your relationships. Your creative work, your panic attacks to reclaim the inner child is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong courtship. It begins by creating a sacred space within yourself where no performance is needed, a room within your soul where your feelings are not corrected, but witnessed, where your fears are not dismissed, but held, where your joy is not mocked, but celebrated. This is the reparenting that no external person can offer. You must become the parent you never had. Not the perfect parent, the present one. The one who listens, the one who says, I believe you. The one who stops trying to fix and simply allows you to be. I once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That is never more true than when it comes to the abandoned child. The partners you choose, the friends you tolerate, and the jobs you stay in, they are often selected by the very child. You no longer acknowledge that child chooses not from power, but from familiarity. And often what is familiar is pain. So if you find yourself repeating patterns, it is not because you are foolish. It is because the child in you still believes that maybe this time someone will see them, and until you see yourself, you will keep searching for that in others and keep being disappointed. Do not rush to fix what you feel. Your feelings are not wrong. They are your compass. Even the anger, even the grief, especially the grief, for that is where the doorway opens. Grieve what you lost. Grieve who you had to become. Grieve the childhood that was not safe, the body that was not cherished, the soul that was not protected. Grief is not weakness. Grief is initiation. It is a sacred river that washes away the lies you were taught to believe about yourself. And when the grief moves through you, when it breaks you open and leaves you raw. That is where the miracle begins. For in that rawness, the child stirs, and the moment you feel that small presence again trembling, shy, but hopeful, you will know that the healing has begun. But beware, the return of the child is not always gentle. At first, it may come with rage, not the rage of entitlement, but the rage of betrayal. That child, long silenced, may scream within you for the years lost, for the safety never provided, for the love that came with conditions. Do not fear this anger. It is holy. It is the fire that burns down the false self, so that the authentic one may rise in dreams. This rage may show as storms, wild animals, broken dolls, flooded rooms. These are not signs of regression. They are psychic storms of renewal. They signify the collapse of a defense system that once protected you, but now only isolates you. The flood is not here to drown you. It is here to cleanse. You must surrender to it. Do not dam the river. Let it carry you back to the forgotten. And there, in the core of your being, you will meet the child, not as a helpless victim, but as a sacred guide. The child holds the map to your soul, not the conditioned self, not the performing self, but the real one. The archetype of the divine child appears in every myth for a reason. In Christ, Horus, Krishna, they symbolize the birth of the true self after descent into darkness. Your own resurrection cannot occur until you retrieve the child. We live in a culture that rewards suppression. It calls stoicism strength. It calls independence maturity. But the soul does not measure success by how well you hide. It measures wholeness by how deeply you feel. And to feel, you must be willing to reopen wounds, not to bleed endlessly, but to cleanse them. You do not heal by avoiding pain. You heal by witnessing it without judgment. If you tremble, let yourself tremble. If you weep, weep fully. This is not regression, this is return. And return is sacred. Like the prodigal son, the inner child comes back not to be punished, but to be embraced. The table is already set for them inside you. The unseen child becomes the unconscious saboteur. That is why you cannot create the love you desire, because the child believes love is dangerous. That is why you push away goodness, because the child expects the goodness to hurt. That is why you cannot rest, because the child learned that safety was an illusion. Until that child knows they are safe, you will never feel peace. It is not enough to tell the child they are loved. You must show them through your choices, through your boundaries, through the way you speak to yourself. Every act of kindness toward your own being is a message to the child. I see you now. I'm not leaving. Well, many people ask me, but how do I know if I've truly begun to heal? The answer is not in how much you've read, how much shadow work you've done, or how many therapists you've seen. It is in this. When the voice within you begins to soften, when your inner critic becomes less cruel, when you begin to extend the compassion to yourself that you once only offered to others, that is when the child is no longer abandoned. And still, healing is not linear. You will fall back into old patterns. You will revisit pain you thought you had transcended. Do not mistake this for failure. The spiral path of the soul is not backward, it is deeper. Each time you revisit a wound, you meet it with more wisdom, more presence, more love. Sometimes the child will test you. They will ask, will you still love me if I'm angry? Will you stay with me if I cry? Will you protect me if others reject me? Your answer must be yes, not in words. But in action, the path of wholeness is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And you were once a child who loved without fear, who played without shame, who cried without apology. That child is not gone. That child is waiting. In mythology, the hero must always descend into the underworld, the cave, the belly of the whale. Why? Because that is where the soul hides its treasures. Your underworld is the childhood you abandoned. Your cave is the moment you stopped believing you were worthy. Your whale is the depression, the anxiety, the numbness that swallowed you whole. And now, like Jonah, you are being spit out onto the shore, reborn. The ego will resist this work. It will say, we're fine, that's in the past, don't open that door. But the soul does not forget. What the mind suppresses, the body remembers. And so the invitation will keep returning through your dreams, through your triggers, through the relationships that repeat your earliest wounds. But you are not alone. Every person on the path of individuation walks this terrain. The abandoned inner child is not just yours, it is the shared wound of humanity. And that is why your healing matters. Because when you reclaim your child, you become a mirror for others. You say to them, it is safe now. You can come home to there. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You only need to be present. Sit with yourself, hold your own hand, speak aloud the words you never heard. You are precious. You matter. I will not leave you again. Well, and slowly you will notice something changing. You will laugh more freely. You will cry more openly. You will rest without guilt. You will create not to be seen, but to express. You will love without needing to be needed. You will become not someone else, but someone real. This is the return to wholeness. This is the return to soul. And always, the child will walk beside you, not as a ghost of pain, but as a guide to joy, for that is the final secret. The inner child was never just wounded. They are also the keeper of your magic. Your creativity, your intuition, your play, your wonder, you do not just heal them, they heal you. So let the child speak. Let them weep, let them dance, let them dream. And when they ask, do you see me now? Say yes. Say it with your breath, with your choices, with your presence. Yes, little one, I see you. I see you now. And once you say yes, once you truly see the child and do not turn away, the landscape of your inner world begins to transform. The terrain that was once desolate becomes fertile. You start to feel again not just the pain, but the wonder, the awe, the inexplicable joy that comes from simply being. The child does not just bring wounds, the child brings aliveness. the kind of aliveness that cannot be manufactured by productivity or status. But do not be mistaken, aliveness is not always comfortable. It is intense. It stirs the soul awake, and for those who have lived numbed, it can be overwhelming. That is why the return of the child must be paced gently with reverence, not all at once, but wave by wave, for to feel too much too fast can send us back into the caves we just crawled out of. This is why inner work is sacred work. It requires devotion, not force, devotion to presence, devotion to truth, devotion to that small voice within that says, this hurts, and I want to be held. You do not need to be a master to begin. You only need to be willing, and in that willingness, grace enters. The unconscious is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally, but only when you stop trying to control it and begin to converse with it. Dialogue with your dreams. Speak aloud to your younger self. Write letters to the parts of you you've ignored. Not for performance, but for intimacy. This is not therapy. It is soul retrieval. And it requires you to listen with your entire being. Have you ever noticed how your body reacts when you hear certain songs? When you smell certain scents from your childhood? That ache in your chest, that lump in your throat? Those are the doorways. The unconscious remembers what the conscious has forgotten. Do not rush past these openings. Enter them. Sit with the memories they unlock. They may not all be pleasant, but they are all pieces of your story. Your psyche is not linear. It is not a staircase. It is a labyrinth. And in the center of that labyrinth is the child not waiting to be saved, but waiting to be met. Do not bring your adult expectations into that space. Come instead with humility. Sit on the floor of your soul. Let the child speak first. Let the child show you what matters. They may take you to the memory of a birthday party where no one showed up, or the day you were told to stop crying, or the night you hid in your room while the people you trusted fought outside. These are not small things. These are initiations. They are where your story turned. And to rewrite your story, you must revisit the chapters you tried to skip. But you do not revisit them alone. Your present self is stronger now, wiser. You are not going back to relive, you are going back to reframe. To sit beside the younger you and whisper, you were never wrong for feeling this. You were never too much. You were simply unreceived. And in that moment, something holy happens. Time collapses, the past and present merge, and the fracture begins to heal. This is the alchemy of the soul, turning pain into presence, wounds into wisdom, shame into sacredness. And so I ask you now, will you continue this path? Not because it is easy, but because it is real. You see, we are each born into this world with an original face, the face we had before. The world told us who to be. The task of life is not to create a self, but to remember it. And that self is not found in accolades or achievements. It is found in the quiet moments, in the softness of your own breath, in the tears that fall without shame, in the laughter that rises without reason. The child within you is not asking you to regress. They are inviting you to return to essence, return to truth, return to that place within where nothing is expected and everything is sacred. Let the others call it weakness. Let the world misunderstand. This path is not for the masses. It is for the mystics, the ones who feel deeply, the ones who dream wildly, the ones who bleed poetry, and you are one of them. Not because you chose this pain, but because you survived it, and now you are ready to turn it into light. You are not just healing for yourself, you are healing for the lineage, for every ancestor who could not cry, for every child in your bloodline who was told to toughen up, for the generations to come who will feel safer because you chose to feel this is not selfish work. It is sacred rebellion. So when the child returns, open the door. When the pain rises, do not flinch. When the joy surprises you, do not question it. This is the life that was waiting beneath the performance. This is the soul that was buried beneath the armor. You are not broken. You are birthing, and the child, your original self, is the midwife of that rebirth. And what is born from this rebirth is not the polished version of yourself. It is the wild, unfiltered, radiant truth of who you were before the world taught you. Shame. You begin to remember that joy does not need justification, that your sensitivity is not a curse, it is your compass, that to feel deeply is not to be weak, but to be alive. The inner child becomes your oracle. Through them, you remember how to listen to silence, how to speak to the stars, how to trust the irrational, the mystical, the poetic. They teach you again the language of wonder, the mother tongue of the soul. You begin to notice beauty in places you once ignored. You feel music in your bones. You see meaning in the ordinary. The world no longer feels like a place you must survive. It becomes a place you can belong. The journey of individuation was never about becoming invulnerable. It is about becoming whole. And wholeness includes the tears, the laughter, the rage, the awe. It includes the parts you tried to discard. It includes your inner child sitting beside your inner elder, both offering wisdom in different dialects of the same truth, that you were always enough, and now you become dangerous, not in a violent sense, but in a sacred one, because a person who has embraced their inner child is no longer controlled by the approval of others. They do not shape-shift to be liked. They do not betray themselves for comfort. They walk with a different kind of authority, the authority of someone who has gone into the darkness and retrieved their own light. You begin to radiate something others cannot name but feel drawn to. Your presence becomes healing, not because you say the right things, but because your being says, it's safe to be real here. You become a sanctuary first for yourself, then for others, and still the work continues. The child will not disappear into the background. They will continue to whisper, to giggle, to protest. They will remind you when you're slipping back into performance. They will ask, are you being true? Or are you being good? They will not let you lie to yourself. And that is a gift. Eventually, you will stop seeking permission to be. You will no longer ask the world, am I lovable? Instead, you will declare to yourself, I am love. This is the awakening the child has waited for. Not to be rescued, but to be remembered. And then comes the integration, not just remembering the child, but living as them and with them, walking hand in hand with that younger self through your days, letting them pick the flowers, letting them cry when the sky darkens, letting them laugh with abandon. You are no longer fragmented, you are one. You become an elder to your own inner world. You speak with the wisdom of someone who has sat in the fire and learned to breathe. And from that fire, you bring warmth not just for yourself, but for the entire human family. Because once you have reclaimed your inner child, you begin to see the child in everyone. The wounds behind the anger, the fear beneath the arrogance, the longing beneath the numbness, you stop taking things personally. You start seeing symbol instead of insult. You understand that every human being is carrying a child who is starving to be seen. And with that, compassion awakens, not as pity, but as recognition. You remember, we are all mirrors, we are all pilgrims, we are all walking each other home. So let this be the benediction. May you never again abandon yourself. May you walk beside the one within who waited so long. May you become the witness your soul has longed for. And may you, in your wholeness, call forth the wholeness in others. You are not the wound, you are the one who survived it. You are not the shame, you are the one who dared to feel it. You are not the mask, you are the face behind it. Geziening still, and when the child within you looks up, wide-eyed and trembling, and asks once more, will you stay this time? You will kneel down, touch your heart, and say, yes, I am here. I will always be here. We are whole now. We are home. This is not the end. This is the beginning, the sacred reunion with the one you were always meant to be. Now go not back to the world as you knew it, but forward into the world as your soul knows it can be, and take the child with you